Hi, this is Amanda. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I am sharing a fun card using the Bitty Bear stamp set from My Favorite Things. I made a Slimline card with this, and those are really popular right now and super fun to make. So here's the card and let's get started. So I am laying out all the stamps that I'm going to use for this, and I'm stamping this on Neenah Solar White 80-pound cardstock and using my Favorite Things black licorice ink because it's Copic friendly, and I'm going to do some Copic coloring, which is my favorite coloring to do. This card is for My Favorite Things challenge, and it's a sketch challenge, and there are 5 parts or 5 different lines on the challenge. There's horizontal lines. So I decided to use 5 different bears for each. And once I've stamped that, and I went ahead and stamped it twice to get a good impression, cleaned off my stamp. And I really enjoy using the stamp chamois when I remember to get it wet with water. All right, and this right here, I decided to make myself a little tool. These are the most common sizes of cards is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, 5 by 7, and then of course the Slimline, which I usually make it about 4 by 9. So I made myself those little tools to help me decide what size card I'm going to make. These are the colors that I've chosen to use for this card, and they're all My Favorite Things colors. I'm going to cut each one down to be 3/4 inches wide, and you can see my blade is a little rough. It gave kind of a jaggedy edge, and sometimes I can clean it up there with the eraser, with the sand eraser, but I ended up just changing the blade because it just tore up the paper too much. So the colors here, that was the Limelight. This is the pineapple. The blue was cornflower, and then I have persimmon, and then the red is the poppy. And these are all heavier weight cardstock, super pretty colors. And then once I have those all cut down, I'm going to pull out my guillotine trimmer, which is my favorite trimmer, the Tim Holtz guillotine trimmer. But it doesn't cut, it's hard to cut anything past 6 inches, which is why I have to pull out my other trimmer. All right, so once I have all those cut, I am going to stamp each one with a sentiment. And I used my little creative corners, my Misty creative corners, to get those lined up. And then I also used my little grid transparency from Simon Says Stamp to make sure that I have my sentiments in the correct spot. Get them all nice and lined up. I chose to use the same sentiments from that Bitty Bear stamp set, and I wanted to try and choose a sentiment because I'm going in rainbow order: the red, orange, yellow, green, and blue. And I tried to choose a sentiment that would start off shorter at the top and kind of stair step down once it got to the blue, and the blue is the longest sentiment. So once I have those all heat embossed, I stamped them with Versamark and then heat embossed with white powder. Now I'm going to color my bears, and I am by no means an expert in Copic coloring. A lot of times I just do what I feel looks right. Sometimes I use 3 colors, sometimes I use 2 colors, depending on how big the image is. And right here I'm just using the lightest color, and I'm going over all the bears. And I do try to do, when I'm doing my coloring, whether I'm doing 2 colors or 3 colors, I go from light to dark and then dark to light to blend it out. So I'm taking the E15, and I believe that first one that I used was E13 to give a nice base color to all the bears, and then I'm going to go around with this E15 15. And I'm trying to create a little bit of a lighter color around the belly and the face, which is why I'm leaving a little opening there. And then I took the last color, E25, to give a little bit more dark coloring around some spots. And like I said, I typically pick areas that I think need it. There are many awesome coloring experts out there. Kelly Latavola, I really enjoy watching her. You should check out her channel. She does some awesome Copic coloring. So right here, I'm taking that lightest color, E13, and going over all of it, blending it out. And then once I have the bears done, I'm going to color all the little objects. And the balloon, I am using my YR04 and YR68. And I chose just 2 colors with this because it is such a small image. It's kind of hard to do 3 color blending when you have such a small image. The same thing for this little cupcake here. So for the liner, I used YG03 and YG17 for that to give a little bit of darkness around the creases of that cupcake liner. And then for the frosting on the top, I chose Y08 and Y13 for that. For the heart, my reds, my go-to 3 combination for reds is always R24, R27, and R29. I just love that combination. So that's usually whenever I have to color anything red, that's what I choose. And then for the little present there, I did, even though this is really small too, and I could have just done 2 colors, I chose to do 3. B21, that lightest there, B24, and then B26, just to add a little bit more depth to that little present there. And then I decided, I left all my stamps in my MISTI, and I put my little colored panel back in, and I'm going to stamp it again just to really give defined lines to those bears. And I'm going to add little highlights on the cheeks and the top. And this too, I just kind of add highlights where I think would be, the lighter parts of the bear, where sun, if you had a light source, where, the sun would be hitting in the lighter spots, and rather than in those shaded areas. So I don't have the coordinating dies for this set, so I just fussy cut each one of them out. It doesn't take too long. These bears are pretty easy to cut. Once I cut them out, I like to go around the edges, and this is just my Tombow black marker just to finish them up. Now I'm going to assemble my card, and I got out my ruler because I really wanted to make sure these were all straight. I'm spacing each color 1/4 of an inch apart from each other. So I just took my ruler to make a little tick mark, and then I drew a line with it across. So that way, when I glued down my strips, I could make sure that they were straight. And so I'm just going to draw a light line, and when I glued it down, I just glued the strip a little bit over that line, and can't even tell it's there. I'm using my liquid glue to adhere those all down. Once I have them all down, I'm placing my little bears, and like I said, I tried to choose colors for their little accessories that would match the stripe that they're on, except with that heart. I debated doing a yellow heart, but I thought that might be a little strange, so I ended up doing the red heart, and then I brought out that yellow with the cupcake. If you notice the little balloon holding bear, because he does have a little string, and that string is just so hard to cut, I just cut off the balloon, and I drew a new string using a fine line Copic marker with my ruler. onto the paper, and then I put down the bear and the balloon, just so that was a little easier than trying to cut out that little string with my scissors. I'm going to pop up all these little bears with some foam tape and get those all stuck down. I love these little bears. They're so cute, and you can use them for so many different things. I am going to adhere this panel to a side folding Slimline card that I cut from the black licorice My Favorite Things cardstock, and I cut the card so that I would have a little bit of a border around there. And at last moment, I decided to do a little something on the inside. I just cut another cupcake and a stump from that to put on the inside, and that's my completed card. Thank you so much for stopping by. Please leave a like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.